Revenge films.
Back then, I used to be in elementary school. I didn't really fit in because I was an introvert. In my class, there was a boy who was very poor and would always wear worn-out clothes. His name was Jacob, but everyone usually called him names.
Hey, the beggar's here! He's wearing the same thing again!
Don't come near us! Go away! He often got picked on and was isolated in class. At my elementary school, they didn't provide us with lunch, so we all brought lunch boxes from home. But Jacob would always secretly disappear during lunch. And when I followed him wondering what he was up to, I found him eating half of the banana in the backyard alone. So I went to talk to him. Then Jacob got surprised and tried to run away. Would you like to share this lunchbox with me? My mom accidentally gave me my brother's lunchbox today, so I can't finish it alone. When Jacob saw my lunchbox, he seemed very hungry and asked if I really wanted to share it with him. So I gave him a firm nod. Jacob ate and ate as he said the rice balls and side dish that my mom cooked were delicious. While we ate lunch, I got to know about him more, and he told me that his mother was single and was at home, but she was sick, so she would usually stay in bed. And they're managing to live under a roof from the welfare they receive. But his previous school provided him with lunch, so his mother doesn't know that students are required to bring lunch boxes to school every day. Because he doesn't want to be a burden for a sick mother, he hasn't told her about his lunch. So he tried to make white rice balls by himself and brought bananas he bought for half the price at the supermarket, secretly eating them at school. After I got to know his family situation, I asked my mom starting the next day to make some extra for my lunch. When I told my mom about my plan, she happily agreed and packed me an extra lunchbox with mine. Since then, I decided to eat lunch together with Yuji. Yuji would eat the lunchbox looking so happy every day and always said thank you. We were spending our school days like this, but after about half a year later, Jacob's grandparents got to know his mother's situation, and they decided to take care of Jacob at their house, so Jacob had to change schools. I was sad that I no longer see him, but I was glad to know that he wouldn't have to suffer anymore, so I said goodbye with a smile. It's been 15 years since then, and I had a job, but I was encountering a problem. My mother, who used to make us lunchboxes, suddenly got an intractable disease, and the doctor told us it was curable, but because our insurance won't be covering for it, we needed a large amount of money for treatment. At that time, I didn't have much money, and the doctor also told us that we had to start by looking for a doctor who can treat her disease in the first place. I was struggling to make a decision because it's going to take a great amount of time and money. But then I met someone unexpectedly.
Are you Sandy?
I thought I heard a familiar voice, and when I turned to look, I found Jacob standing there. It's been 15 years, so he had grown up to be an adult, but his face still resembled his childhood, and I was happy to see him again unexpectedly. He asked me why I had a glum expression on my face before he stopped me, so I couldn't stop myself from telling him about my mom. Then, the emotion I'd been holding in overflowed, and I ended up crying in front of him. Seeing me cry, Jacob cheered me up. He told me that he had just moved back to his hometown and said he wanted to keep in touch, so we exchanged our phone numbers. A few days later, I received a miraculous phone call. It was from the hospital, and they told me that they found a doctor who can treat my mother. I quickly rushed to the hospital, and the doctor told me more about it. I'm glad that there was a doctor who would treat my mother's intractable disease. But when I asked about the price, he replied by saying it was free. When I was surprised because it was definitely unbelievable, there was a knock on the door and Jacob came in. I didn't know why Jacob was here, and I stood there surprised. The doctor explained to me that he was the doctor who would be treating my mother's disease, so I got even more surprised. I couldn't follow what was going on, and my head was starting to panic. So after we were alone in the room, Jacob told me more about it. Actually, it turns out that Jacob studied really hard after moving in with his grandparents and became a doctor using scholarships. Then I remembered that Jacob always scored really high on the test despite being isolated in class. He's been working as a doctor abroad until a while ago, but his grandmother who accepted him and his mother back then got sick, and she was looking for a talented doctor, so he returned. After he heard about my mother's disease, he knew he would be able to cure it, so he used his connections to come to this hospital. I appreciated our miraculous reunion, but I had to ask about the price. Our insurance doesn't cover Mom's disease. I bet it's going to cost a lot.
Your mother is my savior, you know. I'm glad I got the chance to return her the favor. And this hospital is owned by my friend. On the condition that I would be working here, he agreed to make some adjustments.
No way. Are you really sure?
It's fine. I promise to cure your mother.
Although, it's true that I shared my lunchbox with him that was 15 years ago. Plus, lunchboxes and a surgery that isn't covered by insurance are two different things in the first place. So, to be honest, I was confused. But it wasn't possible for me to pay such a large amount of money. So I had to ask Jacob for his help at the end, although I felt very apologetic. Jacob really cured my mother's disease, and he told me that he would cover for all the treatment fees and hospital expenses. When I told my mom about that, Mom cried, saying she felt too apologetic. But Jacob said,
Back then, your lunchbox gave me hope to live. I was really happy. I'm glad I finally got to return the favor.
and that's what he said. Since then, my mother's disease connected us once again. We started meeting each other often, and eventually we started dating. After we got engaged, we received an invitation for a reunion party. He didn't graduate the same elementary school, but he was definitely one of the students who spent their childhood there. So we decided to participate together. We went there together as we planned, but it looked like Jacob had even been on TV. So his classmates approached him, trying to take advantage of his status. Those classmates included the girls who used to look down on Jacob back in elementary school. They were trying their best to flirt with Jacob to become his girlfriend, but Jacob said,
I'm engaged to someone.
and introduced me to them. After they got to know that me, who used to be an introvert, ended up being the super talented Dr. Jacob's fiance, the girls were pretty shocked.
No way, that quiet girl is your fiance? I was actually flirting with you.
Just like that. Honestly, I wanted to brag about this a bit to the girls who used to pick on Jacob back then, so I felt refreshed. Then we got married, and soon I got pregnant with our baby. I got to meet Jacob's mom, who used to be weak. Thank you for helping us back then, when I couldn't do anything for my son. And she thanked me like that. My parents also never expected us to reunite with each other, so they seemed surprised about our miracle. Well, I was definitely the one who was surprised the most. Jacob's mother also visited the hospital to get herself treated, and I was glad to know that she was recovering. A few months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby. Reuniting with someone I've met in elementary school after 15 years is nothing but a miracle. Who expected that what happened in my childhood would actually save my mom's life? I never expected that back then, but now I'm very happy.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.